Welcome, everyone. My name is Jennifer Brancato. I'm a senior librarian and archivist here at the Fort Worth Public Library. And just a quick housekeeping thing, down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat box. There will be time for questions and answers at the end, but feel free to put in those questions that you might have. There is Linda Barrett is in the background monitoring those. So if I don't get to it right away, we'll get to it at the end. I'm first going to start with a poll. I would like to get some information on when your home was built. And if you don't mind sharing, go ahead and put in the chat box what neighborhood you live in. That will give me a little bit of an idea of who's in. And it'll be interesting to see. And while you're doing that, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about myself. As I said, my name is Jennifer Brancato. I am from a town slightly east of here, but I won't say where. I have a bachelor's degree in history and a master's degree in public history. And I went the public history route instead of librarian route because I'm really interested in preserving history for people, to make it accessible for people. My love for history, I want to share that with everybody. So that's why I picked the public history route and archives. So let's see. Quite a few before 1930. Interesting. About even for 1930 and through 1970. Quite a few. Ryan Place and near South Side, Fairmount. Fun. So we got a good range of people. I see one Westcliff. You'll be excited because quite a bit of the stuff in here is about Westcliff, so you'll be happy. But yeah, so good, interesting. Quite a few Ryan Place as well. I'm not sure if I said that or not. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So here's actually a listing of some of the available resources at the library that I use today in my presentation. Some of these resources are actually accessible from your home via the Fort Worth Library's website with your library card, and I'll be sure to point those out to you. And also at the end, I will show you how to get to those databases that I discuss. The Genealogy Local History and Archive Unit holds archival collections from families, churches, businesses. We are also the official municipal repository, meaning we hold many of the city's historical records, including but not limited to the ones on this slide, and that will be of use for you, could be of use for you in your research. We also have some neighborhood association records. The information in these collections vary depending on what the association donated and the work that they did or that they were focused on. For example, Fairmount has a pretty robust collection, including photographs from a survey they did in 1994, 1995. Ryan Place recently donated their records as well, and it includes all the programs, among other things, from their Christmas tours. So these type of records could also be useful in your research. As you could see on the previous slide, we don't have very many neighborhood association records, and I know that we have a lot of associations out there. So if you're interested in donating or preserving those records for future use, contact me and we can work on that together. So I'm going to give you a very, very brief history of Fort Worth. In 1849, Camp Worth was established. In 1856, Fort Worth became the county seat. In the 1870s, we saw railroads coming in, bringing not only cattle and business, but people with it. In 1930, Amon Carter began promoting the city as where the West begins, which is a mantra that we still use today. And in 1941, Consolidated and Carswell moved into the city, bringing even more people. So here is the original city's footprint overlaid on a Google map. The second image shows the original footprint along with dates of when different areas were annexed. So if you don't know when your neighborhood was annexed, this map could be really helpful. The city went through major growth spurts. In 1873, we had 4 square miles with about 500 residents. In 1949, it was about 100 square miles with around 278,000 residents. And in the late 40s and early 50s, we saw many, not all, but many veterans with the ability to buy homes thanks to the GI Bill. So because of that, many homes were needed in a very short amount of time. So developments began popping up all across the United States, and Fort Worth was no exception. We saw a huge growth in developments in the 40s and 50s. And then in 2019, we were at 350 square miles with over 900,000 residents, and we were still the 13th largest city in the U.S. So I'm going to briefly move on to popular architectural styles in Fort Worth. And I'm going to do that because I think that it can help you date your home sometimes. Everything in this section is from a book called A Field Guide to American Houses. It is a wonderful book. It has all kinds of information in there. It even has this pictorial guide or key that is on the screen where you can pick out a feature of your home, see what it looks like, and then it'll tell you the possible style of your home. And then you can go feature by feature to narrow down the type of style that you live in. The styles that I am showing you today are just the ones that are prevalent in Fort Worth, but this book covers all the United States. And also the pictures that are represented here are really the core style type. So each style is going to have variants, but the one that I'm showing you is the really basic style type. So if you have a variant, you can look into this book and see what you have. The library does have a few copies available for checkout. So if you're interested, I highly recommend this book. I have used it numerous times on many different occasions. So the first style I'm going to talk about is the Colonial Revival. It was popular in the United States between 1880 and 1955. It has an accentuated front door, normally with a decorative crown and slender supports. It is very symmetrical with a door in the middle. Windows are have double hung sashes and are normally in pairs. Tudor styles, they have popular from 1890 to 1940. They have very steep pitched roofs with tall, narrow windows, massive chimneys, and a rounded entry or doorway. Mission style, popular from 1890 to 1920. These have that very distinctive mission-shaped dormers or roofs. They have the red tile roofs, open porches with large square piers, and a smooth stucco finish. Prairie Style, popular between 1900 and 1920. These have low-pitched roofs with wide overhanging boxed eaves. They are 2-story with a 1-story wing or porch. Details emphasize horizontal lines. And these have massive square porch supports. Craftsman, one of my favorite styles. They were popular between 1905 and 1930. They have low-pitched roofs, exposed roof rafters, and a porch that is supported by tapered square columns. And these columns don't extend all the way to the ground. They don't stop at the porch like other columns. So that's a unique feature of Craftsman Style. Then we have Spanish Revival, popular from 1915 to 1940. These have low-pitched roofs with little to no overhanging eaves. They also have the red tile roof. Usually they have at least one main arc, but they usually have more than one, but they have at least one. And these are asymmetrical houses, so the doors are normally off-center. Monterey Style, popular between 1925 and 1955. These are two-story homes with a low-pitched roof, and they'll have a broad two-story covered balcony, and the balcony is covered by the main roof. Another one of my favorites, minimal traditional, from 1935 to 1950. These are small one-story homes. They have little to no overhanging eaves. They rarely have dormers. This is really much, the styles in the description. They have very minimal details on these homes. And then we have our ranch style. These are very popular all across Texas, and they were popular in the United States from 1935 to 1975. And these are broad one-story homes with a low-pitched roof. These are asymmetrical, so the entry is off-center, and the entry is normally covered by the main roof. They'll have attached garages and large picture windows. And because of how popular the styled ranch is, I thought I'd show this styled ranch page as well. So you can really have a ranch home that features any other style. And this book can help you figure out if it's more ranch or more of another style. But if it's broad and low, it's most likely going to be a ranch. And then we have contemporary, popular from 1945 to 1990. These houses are asymmetrical with wide overhanging eaves, exposed roof beams. They are built with natural materials. They normally have an expansive, uninterrupted wall in the front, and the entryway is normally recessed or even obscured. So now on to the neighborhood history. I'm going to discuss how to find different information about your neighborhood. And I used two research examples in this presentation. One is Westcliff in the 1940s, and then one is White Lake Hills in the 1960s. And I would first like to start by acknowledging that all the land we live on is Indigenous land. So this website that I'm going to show you actually allows you to find out which Indigenous peoples lived on the land in which your home is currently on. Let me get this up. It's a really neat map. You need to put labels on so you can see the states. But if you zoom in to Dallas-Fort Worth, there's Fort Worth. And you can even zoom in further if you want, but you can see the indigenous tribes, and then over here on your left, you can actually click on any of those tribes and get more information about them, like the website or any other maps that might they might have. So I just wanted to point that out. It's really good knowing who lived on your land first. So to find the first landowners, you can use a database called HistoryGeo with its First Landowners project. This project shows the original landowners across the continental United States according to state and federal records. At present, it covers about 21 states and contains over 9 million records. So this database will show you the very first survey. Sometimes during research, you'll read about, such and such survey, like Tandy survey or Jones survey, and that's where this information comes from. If you pull it up and you click on the survey, if the original grant has been digitized, you can actually see it, pull it up, and read the whole thing. So this database is available with your library card from home. So maps are a great source of information. And one set of maps that I have an unhealthy, some would say unhealthy obsession with is Sanborn Maps. These maps were created for fire insurance companies, and prior to the 1920 maps, representatives from the company would actually come into town to do these surveys. So they're pretty accurate. Now, of course, as the city grew, the maps would grow. So you might not find your house on the earlier ones, but you might on the later ones. So I recommend that you look at them all. They can tell you not only about the house, but about the neighborhood. So what churches, schools, businesses were around. It'll tell you the type of material that a building was built with. It tells you the number of entrances and windows. It even includes outhouses, outbuildings, things like that. So there's really a ton to learn from these maps. I have noticed that some of the Fort Worth volumes are missing, but there's still a lot of information there, and I recommend that you look at it. This one is also available from your house with your library card. It can be somewhat challenging to navigate, but it's worth it. And once you do it, you get in there, and that it gets easier as you go. We also have a collection of neighborhood maps at the Fort Worth Public Library. While this collection is a little spotty, these maps can provide you with a lot of good information. They're all digitized and all available online at fortworthtexasarchives.org. And I should also mention that the neighborhood collection map collection is digitized, but all of our maps are not digitized. So you can, if you don't find what you're looking for in our digital collections, please contact us and we'll see if we can find something else for you. So another good source of information is just talking to the people around you. Ask neighbors that have been there for a while, family members that might have lived in the area. We all know, though, that stories can turn into a game of telephone, so you need to verify the stories. One story that a resident from White Lake Hills heard was about a dairy in the area. Her grandfather had told her about a dairy in the area. And it turns out that it was true. White Lake Dairy was in the area. We found these advertisements from the Star Telegram that advertised the dairy. It was there as early as the 1920s, and it was located somewhere around the Oakland-Randall Mill Road intersection. So that was a neat find. Another place where you might be able to either confirm stories about your neighborhood or find even additional information about your neighborhood is the Southwestern Homebuilder magazine. This is a great magazine. it was in existence from the mid 1940s, mid to late 1940s through the early 1970s. They had articles about upcoming and new neighborhoods that were being built in Fort Worth. The edition that is currently shown on the screen is from January 1949, and the whole edition was about Westcliff, mainly about Westcliff. It had a few other in there too. But it had Westcliff and what is now Westcliff West, because at one point that those two neighborhoods were separated. So if you actually live in Westcliff West, you'll want to look for information from Westcliff as well. The story that I found out about Westcliff was that the land was previously owned by a family who raised racehorses, and there was a 16-stall barn on that property as well as a racetrack. So I thought that was really neat. So always verify stories. You might find out that it was true, or you might even find out something better about the neighborhood. So now I'll get into the actual history of the property. Now, some of you are very familiar with the website that I'm about to show. Some of you might not be, but before you start doing too much digging, you will need to get the legal description of your home, and that is because addresses change. You will need to get it. So what I'm going to show you, demonstrate, is actually how to use it. I'm going to pull up Google just so you can see how easy it is. You can just actually Google Tarrant Appraisal District, and it's going to be the first one that pops up. And then you can search by all these different properties, and I'm going to search by address. And I will use 3200 Hemphill, which is actually a restaurant currently. Now, because this is actually a commercial property, there's a couple of entries. When you do houses, it normally only has one. But if you click on it, right here is your legal description. So this is South Hemphill Edition, Block 46, Lot 24. Now, when you're on here, you can see a few other things. The year that it was built, it says 1926, and then even some previous owners. A couple of things about that. The year built and the previous owners might not be accurate. You'll want to, in your research, use other things to make sure that those are right, or you will find out that they were wrong. The previous owners is definitely not going to be complete. These were the owners when they uploaded them into the system. So anything prior to that, I believe that might have been done in the 80s. Any owners prior to that are not going to be listed at the Tarrant Appraisal District. So what you'll want to do is then go to the Tarrant County tax deed cards, and I'm going to do the same thing so you can see how easy it is. Tarrant, except I can't type. You can just Google it, and it's the first couple of ones that pop up. You can go straight to search. I'm going to actually go to this first so you can see. It tells you that it's got property history from 1876 to 1984. The prior information that can be found at the Texas General Land Office, they're probably talking about those deeds in the history website that I showed you earlier, the first landowners. So I just wanted to show you that. So we'll search for the South Hemphill, and you can see I've already done some searching, so I'm not going to have to do too much typing. So you type in the subdivision name, and then you get these results. You will then go to your block, which this one was 46, and then you'll see the lot. I have noticed once or twice, not very often, but once or twice, that when I click on view, the lot and block that I was looking for was not actually in the PDF that pulled up, but I did find it by going to some of the other PDFs. So if you don't see it right away, don't worry, just keep looking. So I'm going to pull this up and show you these. Now I know that the lot I'm looking for is down at the bottom, so I'll just very quickly scroll. And here is the address, sometime 3200 Hemp Hill. Sometimes the address is listed, sometimes it's not, but you can see there's the lot number and the block number. And then you can see all the previous owners. So the Dukes were the first ones listed at the Tarrant Appraisal District, but you can see all these other owners before the Dukes, as well as when they purchased the property. And then if you go to the back of the card, you can get even more information. So here we see that they're saying that the original house was built in 1918, and then there is this other year, 1930. So that could be either an addition that was added, maybe it was a new house. Further research would have to go into figuring out the differences or the significance of that 1930 date, but it could be done. You can also see on here, there's a footprint of the home, and then all of the descriptions that are circled. So this one actually had a whole finished basement. It's a resident with a concrete foundation. So there's more information that you can find on these cards. They're a great source of information. So I will move on. I already went through that with you. So the Southwestern Home Builder can also give you information about your house. Let's see if I can make sure, get a pointer here. Okay, so the magazine does include descriptions and pictures of homes in Fort Worth. So this one, as you can see, was built in Westcliff on Bel Air Circle. It tells you who built it, Carnes and Meeks, and who it was built for, J.B. Nilsson. It gives a description of the home. Let's see, they have wood floors imported from Guatemala. They have mahogany. It sounds like an interesting home. All the, let's see, a modern stone fireplace. So you can get quite a bit of information in here as well. Over here, we have even more information. It gives you the designer, the architect. So it was designed by M.M. Mosley and built by the Cooley Construction Company, and for who it was built for, Mr. and Mrs. T.C. Smith. So it gives you the style, and then it even has a floor plan, which I love, because then you can see if you have the same floor plan as originally designed. Now, not all homes are in here, and if you find your home, it's really, really good. So, but I recommend doing it. Now, unfortunately, these are not available online. You have to come look at them in person, but it's always fun to come look at stuff in person, I think, as well. Another good place to find information about builders and developers is in the Star Telegram. The Star Telegram is available from your house with your library card. You can search all the way back to the late 1800s, 1880s, I believe. So we found out from the Star Telegram that in White Lake Hills, Ted Peters was a big developer. He was a city councilman, mayor pro tem, He also owned a lumber company on Berry Street. We found out that Atkin and Atkin did a lot of the building in the White Lake Hills area and in Arlington. One fun thing we found out about that company was that they also renovated the spaghetti warehouse in the stockyards. So one of the things that if you're unable to find the developer or the builder of your home, you might be able to find out who was big in your neighborhood. And that could give you a good idea of who did your home, because it's possible that you might not find your builder, but you know, you can get a good idea of who it was if you can't find it. So the Star Telegram is also a good place to find information about real estate transactions. You probably already have a listing of the owners from the tax deed card, but you can get a little bit more information in the Star Telegram sometimes. Now, if your house is built in the first few decades of the 1900s, you will have to look by legal description. So this is a little harder to search for because sometimes they would put lot first, sometimes they would put block first, sometimes the addition isn't even added in the description. So it is harder to find it this way, but it is definitely worth the search, and you'll need to try different search terms to get to what you're looking for, but it's worth it. So later real estate transactions are listed by address. When you search, I recommend leaving off like the avenue, street, road, because sometimes it can throw off the search if you don't have it exactly. But you can find a ton of information this way. An interesting fact that I found out about the Bel Air Circle home that we saw earlier was that it was built for the Nilsons in 1949, but in 1951, the Mel Myers and the Myers family purchased the home. The Nilsons in turn purchased the Meyer home with the intention of building a newer and bigger home at a later date. So basically they just swapped homes. Which I found to be really, really interesting. So searching all of the resources is ideal because you never know what little tidbit you're going to get that you didn't find in another resource. So the Star Telegram also did profiles of homes with detailed descriptions and pictures. So it actually tells about the wood floors from Guatemala and the mahogany panels from Central America in the Bel Air Circle home. And it has a picture right here of the planter box. You can't see it very well, but it does have a picture of that. The White Lake Homes house from 1970, it talks about how it has an antique door with stained glass windows, had a hand-cut crystal chandelier imported from Spain. Oh, and of course, it included everybody's, because this is 1970, everybody's favorite avocado green appliances. So you can get a really good feel if your home is one of the ones that are featured in these stories about what it looked like on the inside of the home. So as a side note, UTA has the Star Telegram photo archive that includes original prints and negatives. So if you do find your home in the Star Telegram and there is a picture, I definitely recommend calling to see if it is available. The City of Fort Worth also has information that has not been transferred to the archives. One of those that we actually get people asking about quite a bit are building permits. We do not have building permits here, but the city does. I asked them, they said most permits only go back 20 years, but you can request those through the public information request on their website. So if you're interested in any permits from the last 20 years, you can get them from there. So now I'm going to briefly go through this so I have time for question and answers about previous owners and occupants, how to get information about them. One of the really good places to look is in the city directories under the address. So I follow the Bel Air Circle home, and as you can see in 1949, it's listed under Nilsson. I noticed in 53 that it was listed under Mel Meyer Mill, sorry, his first name is Meyer. So I already knew that change in ownership, and I knew who lived there, but what I didn't know from previous research and only found out through the city directory was that the Mills had a shoe store. I've heard from people that it was a popular shoe store and they really enjoyed going there. So I found that really interesting. You can find out what people did once you looked under the address and then you go look under their last name, it'll tell you what they did for a living. And I happened to see right here that he had Mill Shoe Land, and then there was an advertisement for it as well. So this historical Fort Worth Star Telegram, you can also find out a lot of personal news from that as well. Back then, people were identified along with their address. Now you would hear 300 block of, 500 block of, but back then they gave the full address. So you can see parties that were held there or meetings. My research of the Mill showed that they lived their whole married life in the Bel Air Circle home. Betsy Mill, she had a meeting here, you can see, with the Jewish Women's Council. The topic was your viewpoint on the in-law situation. I would love to have been there to hear that. They saw their daughter get married while living in that home, and then they even celebrated their 50th anniversary while living there. So you can get a lot of personal information from the Star Telegram. And if you want to learn even more about the family, you can go to Ancestry.com. Currently, Ancestry.com is available from your home with your library card. That is only right now through December 31st. If Ancestry, because of COVID, allows us to extend that access, then we will. If they don't allow us to extend the access, you can still access Ancestry for free from any branch in the Fort Worth Library System. So from Ancestry, I found out that before moving to Fort Worth, Meyer Mill was an active member of the Jewish Welfare Board while he lived in Abilene. I had no idea what that was, so I did a little bit of digging. The Jewish Welfare Board was formed in 1917 to support Jewish soldiers during World War I. They did a lot of recruiting and training of rabbis for service. In 1941, in a response to a call by FDR, the group, along with the YMCA, the YWCA, and the Salvation Army, and a few other groups, pooled all of their resources together to form the USO. So stories like this and ones found in the Star Telegram really bring stories to life. And you know things happened in your home because you're doing them, and you know that past occupants did these as well. But when you see details, you read these details, or you see these pictures, it just makes it all a little bit more real. So 2 final resources that I would like to point out, but I didn't really use. We do have yearbooks. I didn't find anything about the Mills in our yearbook collection, but I recommend it because you can get a lot of more detail or photographs about the family or the children that lived in the home. And then second, we have our obituaries. Obituaries can provide a ton of information about your previous owners. I did find the Mills obituary, both of them in the newspaper, but it didn't really provide me with with much more information because I got lucky and there was so much out there on the family. But obituaries might be your best resource when it comes to finding out about the previous families. So make sure you look for them. And so these are the sources that I used for the presentation. And while I am here, I want to show you quickly how to access those databases from home. Sorry, let me pull this up here. So there's a couple of ways to get to our databases, but if you go to fortworthtexas.gov and then the library department, I normally get there by, now I will show you all the resources. You can get more information about other resources that we have in our local history and genealogy unit. But if you want to go straight to our databases, you can go here to search catalog. And then up here to databases, and then click on Fort Worth. Now, depending on where you are, if you're at the library or at home, you will be asked to input your library card and log into your account. But very quickly, I will show you. So I used Ancestry. That's the remote access link. When we're not allowed to allow remote access anymore, that link will be gone. If you're here in a library, that's how you would get to Ancestry Library Edition. The Dallas Morning News and the Star Telegram are both accessible from home with your library card, as well as the HistoryGeo with the first landowners, and then the Sanborn Maps. So I think that I am done with my presentation and I am ready for questions and answers. I would very quickly like to say that, oh, I don't know where that disappeared to. Sorry. Linda, while I'm trying to figure this out, do you want to start reading questions to me?
Sure. Sorry, it took me a minute to get my mic on. We have a question. What years are the homes in the Southwestern Homebuilder books?
So that magazine was published from the late 1940s through the 1970s. So those are the years that it would be.
Okay. Will the recording be available later to attendees?
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
It'll be available on the library's YouTube page. It will, our channel, it will be about 7 to 10 days before it gets up there. Let me go back here. Is there a syllabus for the citing the links?
No, but if you want to send me an email, I can definitely send you those links.
Okay. Can we get a copy of your slides?
Sure. I don't see why not. Send me an email and we can do that.
Can I use the library to get information on houses in Westworth Village and North Benbrook neighborhood?
Yes, you should be able to use most of these same resources. Correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, but most of those same resources should be able to assist you as well.
it would probably be a good time to mention that the central location of the Fort Worth Public Library is currently closed to the public. So you can contact us either by email or telephone. Jennifer's, well, it just disappeared.
No, it's back. Sorry.
Information there. So you can contact us and we can help you remotely, or we might even be able to set up a appointment to give you access to something.
Yes, thank you, because I was about to say that. We are taking appointments if you want to come in and do research.
And we had somebody wanting to know when Ancestry at Home is expected to stop. The date they have given us is December the 31st. Next question, can we schedule a time to meet with you to help with our research? So yes, what you'll need to do is you can contact Jennifer. You've got her email address is there on the screen. Also the phone number. We can even schedule a remote one-on-one session with you. So we can chat via Zoom or WebEx or whatever. So Amberly wants to know, how do I get a library card for Fort Worth if I live in Benbrook? For a Fort Worth library card, we do have non-resident cards that are available. They cost $50 for 1 year. And if you give us a call, we can walk you through that process. You can fill out an application online for that. So,
or if you don't want to purchase the card, you can always come to our branches and use these in person. Now with COVID, we do have some limited hours, so be aware of those. But that is possible as well if you don't have the $50 to spend for a non-resident card.
And somebody else asked if Ancestry Remote would be available at the branches after December 31st. Yes, and it is currently available there now.
Yes, so the Ancestry Library Edition, we always have that available at our branches. I'm sorry if I wasn't, I know it got a little confusing. The Ancestry Library Edition remote access is currently available because of COVID. Ancestry has allowed us to do that, but they're not going to allow that forever. After they stop doing that, you'll be able to still use the Ancestry Library Edition at the at any of our branches. And I did want to show people this real quick because you can browse the city directories on Ancestry. Okay, it doesn't want to pull up, of course, when I was going to show you this. I don't know why it doesn't want to show up.
Okay, let me go ahead with some more of the questions. Somebody had asked for the phone number. It is 817-392-7740. And somebody else is saying that the Tarrant County tax deed cards does not work for their edition in Ryan South.
So I'm not aware of that issue, but we can take a look and see what's going on there. I'd have to dig a little bit more. Linda, do you know anything about that?
I do not.
So we'll have to do a little bit more digging into that.
And somebody else just asked if we have digital copies of the Fort Worth Press newspaper. No, we do not. That's only available on microfilm right now. If you're looking for a specific article from the Fort Worth Press, you can contact us at either, you can use Jennifer's email there or the phone number that's on the screen that I also just gave out, and we can help you access that article remotely. Can you access resources with shared library card from Haltom City or other surrounding towns?
I don't know. Linda, do you?
So Pretty much, it depends on what database you're trying to access. There are some of them that I think you can access with the other library cards, but I know Ancestry is not one of those.
Okay, so I actually was able to finally pull that up, but I want to show you how you can browse the city directories from Ancestry, because yes, you can type in a name and you know how it pulls up and it'll say the 1941 city directory Fort Worth, but there is a way to actually browse them as well. If you scroll down and you click on this city directory, it's kind of a difficult way to get to it, but it's useful. City directories link. It'll pull this page up, and then you can come over here, look at the US city directories, and once you click on that, if it starts actually moving here. Oh, come on, computer. Okay, so then once you click on that, it'll say browse this collection, and you can actually browse by city, state, and then year. I would like to say, though, that the ones that are missing on here are also missing here in person. But once you get down to some of these later years, like from 40 on, Ancestry has not digitized the whole city directory. So the earlier years, this is a useful hack. The later years, you will probably have to come in to the library and browse through those city directories. But then you can just pull it up and flip through like you would the actual city directory. It takes a lot longer than doing it in person, but it is possible. So, we had someone, Ruth Carbach, has said that the Ryan South question is because the edition name used is actually John C. Ryan South for that edition. So if you want to try that, maybe that'll work. Thank you, Ruth. Maybe then you'll find your tax deed card that way. So do we have any more questions?
There's a couple more in the questions, Jennifer.
Okay. Oh, here we go. So one of the questions is, can you access the Ryan Place historical archival collection online? No, unfortunately, you cannot. I do believe, though, that the Ryan Place Historical Association has quite a bit of their own stuff online. If I remember correctly, and Ruth could probably correct me if I'm wrong, you can actually look at that 94-95 survey photographs on their website. So some of their stuff is online. They've put it online themselves, and we are preserving the originals.
Okay. We also had a question. Are they letting patrons go inside the main library by appointment to access the microfilm of Fort Worth Press?
Do you want to take that one, Linda?
Sure, I will. No, we currently are not. If you can, give us some information about what you're searching for, we can try and help you. I mean, we're just limited on that right now. We can't allow people in the downstairs part of the library, and that's where all of the microfilm readers are, unfortunately.
So yeah, so we can actually bring up things like books, some of our archival collections, but the microfilm is a lot harder to bring up because of the machines needed to read them. So I don't see any more questions. I'm going to share in the chat the link to the survey. We would love to hear what you thought about the program. You can follow that link. I will also send out a reminder link tomorrow with the survey link in there. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Shoot me an email, give me a call, and I will be happy to assist you any way I can.